An injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And since 1979, the Creek Nation has rained down a grave injustice against thousands of Black Creek Indians, some of who are actually here today, who've been trying to right this injustice without recourse. I'm attorney Demario Solomon Simmons, and I have the great honor and pleasure of being the general counsel for the Muscogee Creek Indian Freedmen Band. I'm standing here with the board members of the Muscogee Creek Indian Freedmen Band. I have Jeff Kennedy to my left, Wanda Grayson to my right, and Sharon Lindsay Scott further to my right. Several months ago, this organization, who has been working on this issue for a number of years, traveled to Washington, D.C. during the Congressional Black Caucus weekend in September to talk about this injustice that has been perpetrated by the Creek Nation. Had the great fortune of meeting with several congressional leaders, elected officials, to talk about this issue. And we had a fantastic meeting with Representative Danny Davis out of Chicago. He spent a lot of time with us. He was kind of familiar with the issue here. And he made it his vow and a commitment that he would not allow this injustice to continue, and he would do all that he could with his colleagues to stop it. So that's why I'm here. I'm so happy and honored. It's a great joy to announce that H.R. 1514 has been introduced to the United States House of Representatives. Sorry. Okay. And that bill specifically is aimed to stop the anti-Black racism that the Creek Nation has perpetrated on Black Creek Indians, also known as Creek Freedmen. That bill specifically says that the United States government should sever all ties with the Creek Nation until they fully adhere to the Creek Treaty of 1866, specifically Article 2, which requires that all so-called Creek Freedmen, Black Creeks, have full and complete citizenship within the Creek Nation. So this effort has been ongoing. We've worked with several other national partners, civil rights organizations, including the national NAACP. And I provided you a letter that the NAACP has formally endorsed this legislation. They've made a commitment to have all of their affiliates throughout the nation to work on this issue, to work with elected officials to support and sign on as co-sponsors. And we have many other organizations that are going to be formally adopting or formally supporting this work over the next few weeks. In addition, we have our members, which are in the thousands, who are lobbying and calling and writing letters to their elected officials to say, we need this injustice to stop now. And thirdly, I wanted to announce that we will be working with our national partners to call for all individuals of good faith, and particularly African Americans, to stop doing any business with the Creek Nation until they do right by Black Creek Indians. Our national partners have committed to helping us contact different organizations, different music groups that are coming through and actually perform at the Creek Nation casinos, to put them on notice that they should not spend their money with an institution that is openly, brazenly, and boldly discriminating based upon race.
That's correct.
And discrimination is illegal in the United States of America, regardless if it happens here in Tulsa, here in the state of Oklahoma, or in the Creek Nation. And so this legislation, we believe, it's a just legislation. It's long overdue. We were just talking before we started of how many members we have lost along the way of this battle. How many people have died without having this issue resolved. And that's one of the reasons we have this press conference here at the Greenwood Culture Center as we stand on original Creek Freedmen land. You couldn't have this institution, you couldn't have Black Wall Street without Creek Freedmen.
Absolutely.
And as we see the many pictures of those who survived the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre,
Absolutely.
We know many of those individuals were Black Creeks, Creek Freedmen. So we stand on their shoulders.
Yes.
We push through over a way where tears have been watered, treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. We thank Representative Danny Davis and his office, particularly his Chief of Staff, Mr. Ewell Edwards,
Absolutely.
and we look forward to working with them to get this bill passed. Thank you. I'll take a few questions. Yes, sir.
What's the current status of your federal lawsuit trying to get citizenship for the Freedmen?
The federal lawsuit is currently pending in the District Court of the District of Columbia.
There was an effort similar to this with Cherokee Freedmen that dragged on for several years. Do you have any concerns that this will take longer than one congressional session, or that this might not materialize into the desired effect?
Well, obviously, we know this is just the beginning. I mean, this is a fight that some of these people have been involved in clearly their entire life. So are we concerned that, or do we know this is going to be a fight? Absolutely. Do we know that this is going to take a lot more time? Absolutely. But we're not going anywhere. This organization is not going anywhere. Our history is not going anywhere. And we owe it to our ancestors, many of those who built the Creek Nation.
Yes.
If it was not for many of our ancestors, the Creek Nation would not be here today. And so, yes, that's always a concern, but truth crushed to the ground will rise again, and we believe that our issue is right. We believe we're on the right side of history, and we do believe that the moral arc of justice bends this way.
So when you say that legislation calls on the federal government to cut ties with the Creeks, what would the immediate impact of that be, I guess, for people who may not recognize what cutting ties?
Well, you know, the Creek Nation rightfully receives federal tax dollars for many of the programs that they provide to their membership, programs that Creek Freedmen should be entitled to. So the theory is, why should these Creek Freedmen be able to pay in their tax dollars to go to an organization that's actually discriminating against them based upon race? So if the Creek Nation will not step up and honor its word, the word of Article 2 of the Treaty of 1866, then why should the Creek Nation receive the benefit of the services that the United States government provides, which is funded by these same Creek Freedmen, the thousands, the tens of thousands of Creek Freedmen across this nation? It's unconscionable to force this group of individuals to do that. Any other questions? All right. We thank you so much for your time today. Okay.
A little on the tribal-federal relationship and our tribe beholden to the Civil Rights Act and things of that nature.
Well, the 13th, 14th Amendment applies across the board here in the United States of America. So everyone is subject to the United States Constitution. So, and the United States Constitution forbids discrimination based upon race. Specifically, those statutes, those amendments were specifically put in after the Civil War to protect the class of Africans who had formerly been enslaved. In the Treaty of 1866, which was negotiated by 5 individuals of the Creek Nation, including my 4 times great-grandfather, Cal Tom, it specifically states that Creek Freedmen or Black Creeks would have complete citizenship rights as any other Creek. And so what we're saying is federal law mandates that the treaty is the supreme law of the land, in addition to the 13th and 14th Amendment. The Treaty of 1866, which we have to understand, is the same treaty that allows the Creek Nation to be a nation today. So that treaty is in force. They are specifically deciding not to adhere to one particular portion of that treaty. We are believers and supporters of tribal sovereignty as Indians ourselves. We just want both sides to continue to fulfill its promises. And that will give us the moral authority as Indians, as Creeks, when the United States does not fulfill their side, to say, look, we're doing what we're supposed to do. You need to do the same. Okay. All right, thank you.